Hello, BookTube. I've got a handful of books I want to show you, see if anything sparks your interest. I've got a small stack of stuff that I either got secondhand or that some of you sent to me, including some amazing items. These are sort of cullings from the mail. And then I also have literal mail. I have a couple of packages that I haven't opened that I thought we'd go through. But the first of the open books, the first of the things that I got in the mail secondhand, is a book that I'm looking forward to. It's from years ago, but I've never actually read it. It's by Noah Andre Trudeau, and it's called The Last Citadel. And it's a study of the Petersburg siege that went on for almost a whole year to Petersburg, the capital of the Confederacy during the American Civil War. Uh, with Robert E. Lee defending the city and the environs and the supply lines that went through it, rail lines and whatnot, and General Grant, Ulysses Grant, just grinding away to break the thing because it was well known in 1864 that if Petersburg fell, the Confederacy was doomed. It was the lifeline of the whole apparatus that was left. And this is a huge military endeavor that doesn't have the shine of Antietam or Shiloh or especially Gettysburg. Uh, has lots and lots of interplay of personalities, lots and lots of great human stories. So I've never read this. I don't have another book just on the Siege of Petersburg. So I'm looking forward to that. That's fantastic. Uh, then let's see here. I've never obviously tried the ergonomics in this location, but we'll see how they work. Then this next one is also great. I'm not sure that a paperback is the right approach, but that's what I got, so that's what we have. This is by Terrence Michael Short, and it's called Wild Birds of the Americas. And it's a trade paperback, so I'm not sure how much damage it's going to be able to take, especially since I'm going to want to open it all the way, because it is illustrated all throughout with color and black and white illustrations. And the authors, it's not a field guide. So you have these beautiful illustrations, but what happens in between, the prose, is not a field guide. It's the author's own observations about these birds as he has seen them all over, as a frigate bird, all over his travels. There's a chapter on loons, a bird I know quite well. I've never seen this before. I've never heard of it before. And it's profusely illustrated, which is why I'm thinking that the ideal format for it would be a hardcover. I don't know if it ever came out in hardcover. I'll take this. If it falls apart, I'll use some of the single page illustrations. Have little framed cameos put up of them. Then this next one is a towering figure in theology, so it fits right in with maybe Midrash. BookTube event that's going on, organized by Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse, where we talk about religion and read about religion. And this is an author's name I know. I'm not at all equipped to handle his major, 20-volume theological studies, but I can handle his popular works. And I don't believe that I've read him in years. This is Jaroslav Pelikan. This is Jesus Through the Centuries, which he studies just the character, reception, the artistic and literary representations of Jesus from the beginning. I know there are some booktubers out there who know this author a lot better than I do. I'm pretty sure that Mark Richardson knows this author a lot better than I do, but that's because he has preaching in the blood. I don't. So I don't know this author well at all. I was very happy to get this, especially since because of maybe Midrash, religion's on my mind for the month. Then I got this in the mail. This was a gift from one of you. I really can't say thank you enough. This is amazing. This is the new edition. I've been reading about this in the UK book trade press. This is the new edition of the Diary of Chips Canon. Look at the size of this thing. It just goes through, day by day. Just, let's see, what have we got here? This is Sutton Place, New York City, September 3rd, or December 3rd, a Saturday. This is in 1927. A full day. I woke at 6 and left my comfortable wagon lit in the cold at Albany and changed into a local train for Rhinebeck and arrived at Rhinebeck for breakfast. I returned to civilization, to my other life. Rhinebeck is by way of being the grandest house in America, the early home of the Astors, and it is sadly disappointing. It is an ugly, early, gray Victorian house, and small and unpretentious, but comfortable and luxuriously furnished. I changed and bathed, and then Alice, very lovely and dark, and Helen Astor, tall and stately and pink, came to my room for breakfast. Nearby there was a large, vulgar building in the Trianon style, containing swimming baths, tennis and squash courts, and bachelor rooms. Alice and I took a small motor, and this, the home of the richest family in the world, no footmen, no trappings, and went to the Queen Anne, grey stone house she has just built. It is practically ready for habitation. It is small and cleverly designed, and the stones, being all old, have lent it a certain dignity. It faces a wide, winding Hudson shining in the sunlight. This part of the world has definite charm, a sleepy, revolutionary feeling, but full of atmosphere compared to Illinois. And he mentions at one point here, in another, right around this point, I believe, he mentions that he's at dinner when Lawrence of Arabia shows up, and they just chat. This 1927 would have been what, 7 years before Lawrence died. Just Chip's canon is endlessly fascinating. You will hardly read a history of World War One, the interwar years. You'll hardly read a history of the period that doesn't mention him, quote him, use him for epigraphs one way or another. He's kind of indispensable, this diary, and I had heard about an edition that was making the rounds in the UK, getting reviewed everywhere, and I yearned for it, but at the same time I thought, there's no way that an American publisher will bring this out. He's not known in this country, and he doesn't comment about this country in the way that is so applicable to the time. I thought no one's going to care enough to bring out a big book like this, and they might not. One thing I don't know that I made it clear: this is a UK edition. That is a UK colophon, so this might never occur in America, or if it has, I've missed it completely. I was very happy to get a copy though. It's always fun. You don't actually read a big book like that. You dip in and out. Like, for instance, if I'm researching a book about the progressive era or about the final years of Theodore Roosevelt and what kind of splash he was making in the press or in the popular world, the gossip world, in addition to reading all the other stuff that I will read, I will also now find him in Chip's canon and see whether or not there's a line that's worth using there. So I was very happy to have it, but the palm has to go to this next item. I don't know how one of you found this and found it accurately. I mentioned videos and videos and videos ago, I mentioned that there was a one-volume Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition of Shakespeare that I loved and that Barnes & Noble replaced. They subtly, but it was a deal breaker for me, they subtly changed the appearance of the thing and brought out a leather-bound Shakespeare again, and they've since changed it a third time. The leather-bound Shakespeare that you pay $30 for at Barnes & Noble now, if your store has it, doesn't look the same as either of the two earlier versions. And the first version had on the black of the leather cover, it had a sort of an inset picture of Shakespeare. So it wasn't just sort of lithographed onto there, it was sort of carved in a little inset frame. I had no way to know how to describe it. I had no way to know how to look for it, and one of you actually found it. This is it. This is the very thing I was talking about. There's no way I'm going to be able to make it clear what I'm talking about here, but this is the collected Shakespeare that I was talking about. It's like somebody reached into the past and just grabbed it. It's got the built-in bookmark and the gold gilt pages. No notes of any kind, just an introduction. I think this is over a century old, this particular edition. And now I have it. Now I have the one-volume Shakespeare that I really want. I was complaining, I think at the time, about the old Running Press Shakespeare, the one-volume trade paperback that I have, which I love. I've used it on this channel many times. I've shown it to you many times. Typically, when I want to reread Shakespeare or go and study some portion of some play, that's the volume that I go to, which is why I've gone through many different trade paperbacks, because they just can't take that. Even if I reinforce them, they can't take that kind of use. But this thing can. So that is just wonderful. Very happy to get that in the mail. Wish I could have preserved, on camera the squeal that it elicited, but it was done off camera. But these next two we'll do on camera. These next two are packages. The first one is a priority mail envelope. So it could be from one of you. What have I got here? Oh, no. Oh, okay. All right. No, this isn't from you. This is from an editor of mine. I am a book reviewer for the Martha's Vineyard Gazette. Martha's Vineyard is an island off the coast of Massachusetts, and it has a wonderful old broadsheet newspaper that I review books for. I've been doing it now for years. And this is the latest novel from the Gazette. This comes out in June, late June. Fantastic. Okay, so this author must live on the vineyard. Because that my editor of the Martha's Vineyard Gazette has made the decision to make his book coverage local. So the books are either about the vineyard or they're written by someone who lives on the vineyard. So what have we got here? This is The Sweetest Days by John Huff. I'm wondering now. I'm wondering now that I see that. I'm wondering if this author is any relation to a former editor of the Martha's Vineyard Gazette who had the same surname. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out together. There's no pub sheet here. Let me just read you. Pete and Jackie Hatch have been together for decades. They were high school sweethearts, though they didn't marry until years after an explosive incident at the end of senior year broke them apart. Now in their 60s, with their only daughter grown, and facing scary news about Jackie's health, they travel to their Cape Cod home for Pete's first book signing. But a disastrous encounter with an old schoolmate brings their long marriage to the breaking point and forces them to revisit the long-ago event that changed the trajectory of their lives. Exceptionally moving and told with richness and delicacy, The Sweetest Days is an insightful portrait of a couple in it for the long haul, and of the deepest feelings, both tender and fierce, that are held in the wake of an enduring marriage. That sounds really good. Let's find out about the author. He is the author of 5 previous novels, including Seen the Glory, a novel of the Battle of Gettysburg. Okay. Winner of the American Library Association's 2010 W.Y. Boyd Award. The W.Y. Boyd Award. No kidding. Okay, lots of resonances here. And last summer, and 3 works of nonfiction. He's a graduate of Haverford College, a former VISTA volunteer, speechwriter for Senator Charles Mathias of Maryland, and an assistant to James Reston at the Washington Bureau of the New York Times. He grew up in Falmouth, Massachusetts, and now lives on Martha's Vineyard. Okay. Okay, no mention of any deeper connection with the vineyard. That's okay. Doesn't need to be. He lives there. That's fine. Once upon a time, there was an editor of the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, a rather legendary figure, who had that same surname, but that could be just a coincidence. And then the last thing here is a heavier package, probably a finished copy. It looks like it's chromatographic. And then we'll be done. What have we got here? Any pub sheet? No? Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, I've already read this, but I wanted a finished copy, very much so, because I'm going to want to interrogate a lot of things about this. So this is fantastic. So wonderful. Let's see what we have here. Okay, lots and lots of stuff, but I am so looking forward to this. This comes out later in the month. I've already read it. I can wholeheartedly recommend it. I will be reviewing it for the Christian Science Monitor. And it is not what you think. It's one of the first truly comprehensive, historically responsible, intelligent analyses of this particular subject. This comes out on April 13th. This is by Karen Tumulty, and this is The Triumph of Nancy Reagan. I know a lot of you, any of you who remember the 80s, are wincing a little now and saying, oh, come on, come on. And I had the same initial reaction, especially if you've had your imaginative ground prepared by Kitty Kelly, her scandalous book on Nancy Reagan. But even when I was reading that book and talking to people about it and writing about it, I was saying, oh, come on. This is obviously a vicious broadside. What about a serious study? She was the First Lady of the United States. Up until 2016, those figures deserved serious study. Maybe they will again. Now in 2021, maybe they will go on again. There will be a little caesura where that whole process stopped. But even a long time ago, when I was when I was in the thick of it in the journalism world of the 1980s, even then I was thinking, okay, well there are important things going on here. There's stuff that's easy to laugh about, but surely this deserves a serious book, and this is that serious book. I don't know what the what this sheet is going to tell me. Oh, it does. It does tell me. Great. Okay. Let's see here. With this definitive biography of the fiercely vigilant and politically astute First Lady, Washington Post political columnist Karen Tumulty shows how Nancy Reagan shaped one of the most consequential presidencies of the 20th century and made herself a place in history. The author spent 4 years interviewing the people who knew this couple best and draws on overlooked archives, letters, memoirs, White House recordings, going as far back as the composition as a composition Nancy wrote as a kindergartner. Seamlessly blending history and new reporting, this book is the most extensive biography of Nancy Reagan yet. And the author argues that the made-in-Hollywood marriage of Ronald and Nancy Reagan is more than a love story. It is a partnership that made him president. There are a lot of things in this book that I take issue with, and now I will take issue with them in front of an audience, but this is an overwhelmingly impressive job. Just overwhelmingly impressive. Fantastic. Fantastic. Glad to have a finished copy. I'll get to work on it right now. So that's it. That is a little bit of book odds and ends, I guess. So can we do a Steve Pyramid? We're not really feeling up to a Steve Pyramid. We'll give it a try. This is The Triumph of Nancy Reagan. Fantastic. Great. Glad to have it. The Sweetest Days, a novel that's coming out in June that I'll be reviewing for the Vineyard Gazette. Then just fantastically, we have the complete William Shakespeare in this old Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition. We have The Diary of Chips Canon in this UK edition. We have Jesus Through the Centuries by Jaroslav Pelikan. Oh, you're not even going to be able to see it, are you? The pyramid's going up too high. We have Wild Birds of the Americas and The Last Citadel by Noah Andre Trudeau. So a nice big wad of books to play with. So that is the mail for now. There may be more. If there's more, I'll share it. But I'm going to wrap this up now. So I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.